Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. On November 17th, the Bloomington City Council Committee of the Whole discussed the Humane Pet Shop Ordinance to address issues with commercial pet shops and to prevent cat and dog mills associated with inhumane conditions. Indiana State Director at the Humane Society of the United States, Samantha Morton, explained how city ordinances can help communities ensure more humane conditions for cats and dogs.
I wanted to give a little bit of background on this issue. So you may know that puppy mills are a big issue here in Indiana. And over the years at the Humane Society of the United States, we have connected the sale of dogs and cats at pet stores to inhumane puppy mills. And over the last several years, we've seen a nationwide trend of communities demanding the humane sourcing of pets in their communities. And they've been doing this by passing humane pet store ordinances in their communities, much like the ordinance that you're considering here this evening. So to date, there's been 400 ordinances that have passed in 31 states.
Council member Isabel Piedmont Smith presented the ordinance changes and explained how the ordinance would address cat and puppy mills by eliminating the market for them.
The problem is that dogs and cats sold in pet shops are often sourced from puppy or kitten mills where conditions are inhumane. And occasionally it's not, the pet shop is trying to do everything they can to make sure their suppliers are businesses of integrity, but sometimes, there's obfuscation, there's a will to hide the reality of what's going on in these places. So these ordinances have been a strong tool in trying to stem the proliferation of these mills in order to cut the pipeline, basically, so that there are fewer places that would actually purchase from these mills.
She said that the current consumer protection requirements are insufficient to tackle the problem. The new ordinance would be effective on January 1st, 2023, to give pet shops time to change their business model. The Humane Society will also provide marketing assistance to help pet shops with the transition. Councilmember Susan Sandberg added that the community has asked for changes like this to take place, and she feels confident this ordinance allows businesses enough time to come into compliance with the new regulations.
This has been a long time in the vetting process as for the members of the community that have approached the council to sponsor this ordinance. And so I do believe we have given it great thought. We have vetted all the consequences, and we feel very comfortable at this point with the community being so much in favor of this. In fact, a lot of people who we have approached in the research of this ordinance have said, this is long in coming. This is something I think much of the Bloomington community supports and had been hoping for a long time. And so as we've weighed and measured what we should be doing going forward here, we feel very comfortable with the ordinance, in particular with the year that we have granted as a grace period for the pet shops who will be most affected to come into compliance with this.
Councilmember Matt Flaherty asked about the implications of banning the sale of cats and dogs versus enforcing more strict regulations to ensure the ordinance does not shift the sales into underground markets.
I would like to ban the existence of puppy mills. My concern is that banning pet store sales of animals is not going to accomplish that, and in fact may exacerbate those things in some ways. So that's the question, is specifically comparative research, like quantitative metrics of different places that have enacted bans or not, and looking at pre and post numbers of how this has impacted illegal sales of animals, for instance, unregulated sales, or other sort of metrics that I think are relevant to this conversation of like the overall goal increasing animal welfare.
Councilmember Dave Rollo agreed with Flaherty that under normal circumstances, prohibiting the sale of something could lead to the market going underground. However, he said there are still legal alternatives, such as the Humane Society and small breeders, who would continue to legally and ethically sell animals. During public comment, owner of Delilah's Pet Shop, Leslie Henderson Miller, spoke about the shop her mother started and asked the council not to pass the ordinance.
The thing is if we've been here 45 years and we've always had a clean checkup from the shelter and nobody to say anything bad about any of the things we've done, that ought to be something that you take and factor, that not all people or places are created equal. There are some good places that have local raised animals to love, and don't push them on people to sell them. Don't elevate the prices just because it's a male or a female. It's about a living soul, and that baby is going to be with you for a very long time. And that's an important thing to share with that family, not that it's just a cute little soul and you need to take something home. Not every pet store is bad.
The council will discuss the ordinance again at their next meeting on December 1st. At the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting on November 17th, Associate Director Greer Carson requested the board establish a fund line to receive American Rescue Plan Act grant funds given to Community Access Television Services for new field equipment.
Earlier this year, we requested and received funds to purchase additional field equipment for CATS to better enable our CATS crew to provide hybrid local meeting coverage and participation on the part of the public. This is important because we have seen an increase in virtual meeting attendance and participation since the onset of COVID, but more importantly, we feel this is something that's very likely to continue even after we emerge from the pandemic. So this grant is part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 and as a federal grant with funds distributed by way of the Indiana State Library. We are required to establish an ARPA grant fund and to approve the appropriation of those funds. So tonight we have a resolution to establish the fund line and to approve the appropriation of the funds.
The board unanimously approved the request. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
There for me, every day, believing in me.
Showing me what's possible.
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body.
to say I can rather than I can't,
To say no with no apology.
To be a leader.
to finish school.
To own my future.
To break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner,
With you in my corner, I will not be another statistic.
I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
Welcome back to CATSweek. At the Monroe County Commissioners' joint meeting with the County Election Board on November 17th, Commissioner Julie Thomas said that the commissioners wanted to focus on the 2022 elections before planning anything further out.
So we've whittled it down to two very specific things that we know we need for 2022. And at this point, that's what we need to focus on is 2022, not beyond that. And again, I'll talk about that in a second. We need to get spaces prepared. We need to be ready. And it is November. So the question one, issue one is which spaces do you want to use? Your current space, Johnson Hardware, your current use is 3,844 square feet. Napa building is 5,000 square feet. North Showers is 2,702 square feet. So rudimentary math, 11,546 square feet, which is 3 times the space you have now, which is only just shy of the 12,000 square feet of space that we heard earlier. So we believe that this is, it's not ideal, but this is what we have available in 2022. So we need to know which, we're assuming you want to use Johnson Hardware, but which additional spaces do you want to use? That is up to you all to decide. I don't know if you want to do that today or at your next election board meeting, but we need to know as soon as possible. And again, we encourage you to please consider early voting satellite locations for residents in the city, and also for those who live outside the city and work outside the city.
The election board has requested that the first floor in the old Johnson Hardware building be used for Election Central in addition to the bottom floor to ensure there is enough space for voters and to house the documents and equipment securely under one roof. The location currently houses the Monroe County Community Corrections Office. County Clerk Nicole Brown said she felt like the commissioners were not willing to hear the election board's ideas.
I can say for me, when you say, let's get together after this and do a commission, it feels like we're going back behind closed doors and then, you know, you'll take what we give you and you'll love it. That's how it feels, if that's not what your intent is.
Commissioner Thomas replied that that was not her intent, and she shared what the commission would like to work on.
We have almost 12,000 square feet to offer you. It's not in one building. It's not under one roof. We understand that that's not what you want, but we do have almost 12,000 square feet of space for you, 3 times what you had in the last election. And that space is available to you. We need to know if you want that space and if what modifications we need to work on, because that is going to be the way to move expeditiously, because we don't want to fall short time-wise on preparing for 2022. That's what we're focused on right now.
Thomas said that normally space need requests are submitted generally rather than including specific plans. Then the department and the commissioners can work together to find a solution. Commissioner Thomas said that the location the election board wanted was prime realty downtown, and that at least for the 2022 election, it would not be possible to meet the request of the board.
We certainly are responsible for providing space based on requests to the best of our ability. And it doesn't mean that we can magically make every request happen, because if we did, county government would look very chaotic in terms of its space usage right now, because we do have a lot of departments that are using a variety of spaces, and we take time to work with architects to utilize the space as effectively as possible to help the department out, not to tell them what to do, but to help them out and to utilize the space as efficiently as possible. Downtown space is a premium, even though we do have North Showers building with great parking, and we have a lot of other buildings that we use, but we have departments that are spread all over the county buildings. Not ideal, but that's what they've had to work with, and we've made it work.
The commissioners offered the bottom floor of the former Napa Auto Shop and space in the North Showers building for the board to use in addition to the space already allocated for Election Central. Election Board President Shruti Rana wanted clarification that the commissioners were not willing to commit the Johnson Hardware building to Election Central.
What would be the purpose? So this is what I'm asking. So the clerk has already done a lot of research, presented a plan. What would be the purpose of a working group to, we're just getting back to a refusal to make a commitment, and it's nice to intend to make a commitment in the future, but that's not the same thing as making a commitment.
Thomas replied that they are not able to make a commitment today for the Johnson Hardware building. The election board will tour the Napa Auto Shop before the next meeting on December 2nd. On November 17th, at the Monroe County Commissioners meeting, Board of Health Director Penny Cottle gave a sobering update on COVID-19 cases in Monroe County.
Our cases rose this week. They are similar to what they were a couple of weeks ago. Our daily case rate is running in the upper 20s. Today, I think it's 50. So, it varies a little bit. From the weekends tend to drop because there's less testing. And then we do see at the beginning of the week sometimes an increase because kind of catch up on those. But what is probably some of the most disturbing to me is that this is the 17th of November and we have had over 11 deaths this month alone. At almost one a day. And while many of them are older, so some people say it's because people are older and they have underlying health conditions, we are seeing younger people pass. And if you look at the percentage of people who pass in different age groups, you will see that dropping. And that is very concerning. I don't want anyone to die. I don't care how old you are, but certainly we don't want to continue this trend.
She said the Board of Health will be meeting to discuss how to address the rise in COVID-19 cases. Commissioner Penny Githens responded that the community members should get their flu shots to limit the number of people going to the hospital.
We need to remind folks too to please get their flu shots, because one of the things, we can't have both COVID and flu overtaking our healthcare system. People need to be able to have surgeries, other care when they need it, and we don't need to see that again. We can stop this.
The next Board of Commissioners meeting will be on December 1st. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged
with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to CATSweek. At the November 15th meeting of the Bloomington Redevelopment Commission, the Housing and Neighborhood Development Department Director John Zodi explained additional funds requested for emergency home repairs.
HAND administers the Emergency Home Repair Program. It is funded by the Community Development Block Grant federal program. And on occasion, we get repairs that come in that are quoted ahead of the cap that is allowed in the program guidelines. In this case, for a manufactured or mobile home, it is $3,500 is the cap that is allowed for repair, for emergency repair. And we have 2 households in need that we are asking your approval to exceed those caps. One mobile home requires replacement, basically the subfloor. There's been some plumbing leaking, and to make that home livable, it would require about $4,700 in repairs. So it would be an additional $1,600. The second household is in need of a new HVAC system. And so as we are heading into the cold months here, we believe this is a proper use of the excess and regulation, if you will. So we're asking you to approve an additional amount of money to make those repairs for those 2 mobile homes.
He said that similar requests were approved in the years past and added that the cost caps might need to be reevaluated in the future since the cost of materials has increased over the years. Commission member Deborah Meyerson asked if there was any reason an 80% efficient HVAC system had been proposed, or if investing in a better unit would ensure savings in the future.
The reason I ask is because obviously greater efficiency is going to be lower utility costs, and that's an important resource that would hopefully pay off on the longer term.
Sure.
Anyway, so just it seems like that would be a worthwhile consideration.
To mitigate waiting, the Commission discussed approving funding for a more efficient system as long as it did not exceed an extra $1,000. The Commission unanimously approved the emergency funding for both home repairs. At the City of Bloomington Plan Commission meeting on November 15th, Case Manager Eric Grulich shared an extension request for first-floor residential use instead of switching to commercial downtown. The request was for another 5 years before the building would have to be compliant with the Urban Development Ordinance. Beth Kate weighed in about the 5-year extension and what will happen between now and then.
What are the possibilities 5 years out with that 20-foot setback? Smaller residential property, conversion to some form of commercial use, both, something else? What is envisioned, if anything, at this point, understanding that 5 years is a long time and who knows what will happen between now and then?
The board unanimously voted to approve the temporary use extension with the condition that it is brought into compliance by November 15, 2026. On November 12th, at the Monroe County Women's Commission, Commission member Peter Iverson shared that Monroe County approved $10,000 for Girls Who Code in the 2022 budget.
So the Monroe County budget passed last month, and in it was dedicated funding for Girls Who Code.
Commission member Michelle Bartley Taylor reported that the Girls Coding Camp was successfully completed at all 3 locations. The next Women's Commission meeting will be held on December 10th. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.